Hello, my name is Nathan Baxter and I'll be your host for today. So before I begin, I'm just going to read through this brief disclaimer. Beyond Trader LLC is strictly a research publishing firm. The information we publish is based on our opinions plus our quantitative models, statistical and financial data and independent research. This service is not registered with any financial agency such as the SEC or any other organization or governmental body. By using our platform or our services, you acknowledge that we do not provide personalized recommendation or advice. Alternative asset classes are volatile investments and carry significant risk. Please do your own research before making any financial decisions. Okay, so this week I think it'll be a good time to look at our indicators and what's going on with them. So let's get started and take a good look at Bitcoin. So if we have a look at Beyond Atlas, Beyond Atlas started to move lower at the start of the week, obviously, as we had a new all-time high in Bitcoin. But since then, it's not been acting as we would have hoped. And after this kind of period of creeping down, which is exactly what we wanted to see, the inverse of price, it's actually been dropping and it's been moving higher as you might naturally expect. So I think it's crucial the next couple of days. But one thing that we can see here very clearly with Atlas is that it has been trending higher. And obviously, the price itself has been trending higher. And that's not great news, because if the price is trending higher, Atlas should be moving lower. So I guess we could say that maybe there's a little bit of price divergence there, and there's a heightened risk of maybe a correction back towards possibly, like the 109 or 107 area, while the price and Atlas are moving in the same direction. Is never a good thing. So it's particularly critical what happens. And I guess another thing to point out is that we're not making lower lows in Atlas, are actually making higher highs. So that's definitely bearish. So do bear in mind these factors, even though we're in a general uptrend for Bitcoin. So overall, Atlas isn't looking fantastic, and it definitely needs to see a large drop and preferably into the green zone rather soon. Moving on to our long v short ratio. And we can see that as Bitcoin hit a new all-time high and dropped this week, short traders started to go long. And obviously, that's the worst thing that can happen, because according to what we've seen, there's a strong chance that whatever the retail traders are doing is generally the wrong thing. So we need to see them going back short this week in order for Bitcoin to start to move higher, basically because of the strong inverse price correlation with 2. So ideally, we need to see that negative bias by retail traders, and then that could probably help Bitcoin towards all-time highs. So that's definitely something we need to pay attention to this week. Moving on to our Vanguard indicator, and you can see that things are pretty shaky across the lower time frames. Orange isn't the best sign, although it's much better than red, admittedly. And I think the only good factor here is that the weekly time frame is currently in green. I think it's important to note that if you look at the 2.0 model that we have on TradingView, which actually tracks the real-time closes, is currently blue. So the weekly being in blue is not the end of the world in it, and it typically means prepare to buy. So all the other time frames at the moment aren't fantastic. However, the weekly still looks pretty good, and definitely some scope for some further upside there according to that. So let's have a look at Challenger and see what it's currently suggesting for Bitcoin. So if we type in Bitcoin, and we can see that Challenger is 1 week away from a sell signal, which isn't great news, to be honest with you. So if we're getting that weekly sell signal warning, Bitcoin would have to make some substantial upside next week to really make it a good risk reward trade. So ideally we need to be seeing the 140 level in order to go kind of like short, so that there's a chance that there's a good bearish reversal risk there, and taking the risk reward trade. Going short here is a bit risky because of the uptrend, but just a bit of good information there that Challenger is giving us a bit of a heads up that there's going to be a big sell signal after the next weekly close, or potentially sometime next week. In terms of the pivot points, and I think, to be honest with you, if we have a look at Bitcoin on a monthly or perhaps on a weekly basis, let's see how it's faring. So if we have a look on a weekly basis, 128 this week was the R3, and the R2 we more or less tagged. So the downside risk here is 114 if we lose support today, but we're pretty much bouncing from that weekly pivot point, which is a great sign of strength, by the way. And on a shorter term, into the close, we can see that the 12-hour, yes, we're above there, and we're approaching the R3 there, which is typically means that there's some strength coming into the market on a Sunday. More importantly, if we have a look at the yearly pivot points, and we can see that if we start to hold above that yearly pivot point next week, 121.76, there's a chance we're going to go to the R2. I think the downside risks here are generally negated, but it's always good when we start to close above the R1 with some momentum at least. And I think if we look at Firefly Alpha, it's generally showing that it's slightly bearish, but no surprises there after the recent correction. So overall, going into next week for Bitcoin, I think things are finally balanced. I think we do have to bear in mind that we are in an uptrend, so these dips are typically meant to be bought, but there's some warning signs certainly on Atlas and on Vanguard that things could look shaky after maybe we get the next pump or so in the market, or maybe the next couple of pumps in the market, depending how things shake out. So I hope you enjoyed it this week. And obviously, if you caught our Ethereum analysis, we nailed it again from last week, with Ethereum still giving some strong buy signals out there, according to our indicators. And that doesn't look set to end anytime soon, by the way. So maybe next week I'll check back in and have a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon.